and welcome back to a Gen Mouse 45 video, where today I'll be talking about play therapy related books that I used when I was in Capella University trying to get the certified play therapy certificate, which should be in the mail here soon, and books that I'm either continuing to use or am reading in order to obtain the registered play therapy licensure. So I'm excited for this video today. So I graduated from Capella University's Graduate Play Therapy program, started October 2024 to June 2025. Within the courses, I found many thought-provoking and interesting books that assisted with how I could help children and their families through play. I wanted to take a moment to talk about some of these books in case any potential play therapists or therapists working with children and adolescents wanted to read about play therapy and use the materials within their therapeutic work. So if I keep looking down, I'm looking at my notes. Please note I'm not sponsored by any of the authors or publishers, just wanted to help out anyone with some book recommendations. I do have some family-related books that I used, yet also some of the books that I used were for individual therapy. Cat's over in the corner, he might be back on my lap. If you saw my video from before, probably know what's going on. Alright, but let's start with the first book. So I do need a preference to, I primarily use solution-focused therapy. I've been sprinkling in a bit of narrative here and there, a little bit of acceptance and commitment therapy or ACT. However, I was very, very happy to discover solution-focused play therapy as one of like the little course things, because I was like, that's going to be my jam and jelly. That's going to be my reasoning for change, is like, you know, folks have their solutions, it's just they're kind of stuck in their ways. So I was like, when I saw solution-focused play therapy, I was like, yay, I know which one I'm going to gravitate towards the most. So yeah, and now like that, there's a whole book on it. Check out the lovely post-its. All the things inside. So this one is Solution-Focused Play Therapy, a Strengths-Based Clinical Approach to Play Therapy by Elizabeth Hartwig. The book provides an overview of solution-focused therapies. It goes through the basics, this is what it is, then how to make it play therapy related. The key element of SFPT would be the therapeutic relationship and a way to listen, select, and build within the communication piece. Because again, postmodernism is built on like communication, how we all communicate within one another, systemic, all that good stuff. You all know, you know what postmodernism is. But yeah, it kind of goes through that. It also goes through the framework and how it's empirically based. However, I did learn the other day that it's not considered one of the core theories for the seminal theory hours and stuff, which I felt pretty sad about. I was like, no, but I'm sure it works. It's been working. Let's see. I'll put into that. The book then goes through neurodevelopment and its impact, then goes through what goes in the play therapy room and different interventions to use. Personally, my favorites are the magic wand activity, the body mindfulness activity where you have like the little gingerbread cutout, and then like each part does like a different like relaxation skill. So like maybe for your mind, maybe it's listening to music. For your feet, it's going for a walk. For your hands, it's, you know, doing an art craft. Maybe for your chest, it's blowing bubbles. Stuff like that. I really like that one. And then the strengths tower. I actually bought those little cardboard blocks to like make the tower with the kids and stuff, which those things are pretty fun to put together. The first one was experimental. That was fun. I think I did look up a video now that I think about it. So it was like some like little YouTube short how to put together these little cardboard blocks, and I was like, well, thank goodness. Then after that, you're on a roll. Goes through non-direct versus direct play, the basic skills of SFPT, and how to document, how to do your notes. My take is doing, and then one of the other things too that I enjoy doing that is mentioned in here is doing the party idea to celebrate client success. Whether it's kids, teens, even adults, you know, just something kind of small to help celebrate. I'm going to continue doing that, and the one thing that I want to add in my future practice, or whatever I do, is the hopscotch scaling. There we go. I don't know why I couldn't get that out. Yeah, the hopscotch scaling. I think that's a fascinating idea, because I grew up with hopscotch and everything, but to like have the client, you know, from like 0 to 10, like just like hop to like where they're feeling or where they're at and stuff on a number. Like that was a pretty cool idea. I'm just hoping with solution-focused play therapy there'll be more research done from this theory and like incorporated into play therapy, because I'm pretty excited to be using pretty awesome modality. Okay. Alright, so up next for book number 2, we have Advanced Play Therapy, Essential Conditions, Knowledge, and Skills for Child Practice. This is by D. Ray, Dr. Ray. I consider this the Bible of play therapy. I'll go through Dr. Landreth's book here in a minute, but with her book, she goes through the more non-direct, child-centered play therapy, so CCPT-based approaches, and she also covers the history of play therapy and the need for play therapy, which was so fascinating to read. I was like, I was hooked on. I was like, wow, we've come a long way. Wow. Then what play therapists need internally to work with children, so some self-reflection going on. Then going into more about limit setting, the different play therapy themes, which is very important to know your themes, or have a handout on what themes look like and what the child's working through and towards. Then it goes through how to track the child's progress, and then, how to complete termination, how to consult with parents. There is a good chapter on understanding aggression in play therapy and the need to get out aggression to be able to heal. The book also covers group play therapy in schools, and supervision in play therapy. The book covers the basics and so much more, and is a nice introduction into play therapy. I think I did read this during the first class, like a couple chapters. I think the appendix mostly was the one recommended. I think it was like the appendix mostly for this one, but definitely like towards the end I was like, I'm just gonna buy it. Have it on hand. So with this book, fun fact about this book, with the Association of Play Therapy, APT, where I'm trying to become a registered play therapy therapist and all this stuff, you have to do your training hours, and there's these quizzes to get your continuing education credits. I think that's what they're called. It's at the office. Yeah, but to get the training hours, you read a book, you take a quiz, you get an 80%, you pass, you get the hours go into training hours. Sounds easy enough, right? So I'm looking through the type of hours that I need, which I believe is seminal theories. I'm almost done with those. But I see her book there, and I see like the credits and all this stuff, and I was like, ooh, I pretty much know this book inside out by now. So I'll just go ahead and do the quiz for this book so I get like a feel of what that's going to be like. So it was something I was familiar with, and that way too I was like already practicing for like what these quizzes would look like. So I thought that was very, very helpful. But yes, add this one to your bookshelf, please. Now we're going to do another child-centered play therapy CCPT book. This one is Play Therapy, the Art of the Relationship, Theory and Application of Child-Centered Play Therapy, an Evidence-Based Approach by Dr. Gary Landreth. Another essential book to have, especially with those that are doing non-direct play therapy and CCPT, directives, interventions, techniques, all that good stuff. All the words. I would say Dr. Landreth is very thorough in his explanation of what CCP should look like, what should be considered, and how to cultivate the relationship between the child and therapist to be able to have the child interact within the space and start the healing process. Like, he talks a lot about how important the therapeutic relationship is and what you need to do in order for the child to be comfortable to be able then to express themselves. I will say this is the newer version. There was a version that came out, I think, in 2012. This one, wait, this 2012? It just smells so new. I love new book smells. What is it? Oh, it's right here. Yeah, this is 4th edition, published 2024, so brand new. brand new. Let's see. So with the newer version, there's more on cultural responsiveness, there's a part on supervision, more specific key moments of play therapy, such as like a child who might not be playing or talking, and has a chapter dedicated to the research of CCPT. which is very, very good to have. That's why it's like evidence-based approach, because there's a whole chapter on all the research out there, and what helps and what doesn't. I don't know if anything doesn't help. Just whatever helps. Let's see, it looks more in depth looked at CCPT and its principles and plenty of scenarios that he goes through that helps visualize what to say or like how to frame things with a child. The one thing that took me a while with like non-direct was like, you feel, or you are. Since being a family therapist, I usually model by saying like the I statements, like, oh, I'm noticing, or what I heard you say. And now with like doing non-direct, it's like, oh, well, you decided to make a picture of a rainbow. You decided to line the cars up or something like that. So, random examples. So that took a while to do, but once I did start doing that, like the whole you thing, then it was like, it did make such a difference. Because then the child can like respond to that and be like, oh yeah, like, I want to make a rainbow for my brother or something like that. So helps open up the conversation a bit more, is what I've noticed. And then the tracking and reflecting, like applying those skills have like really helped my work with kiddos. So it's always trying to figure out like when to track. Like, oh, you moved over here, you moved over there. It's like, it takes a while to learn how to track and reflect, but once you do, then it's pretty easy. So supervision is key. Next, number 4, we have doing play therapy from building the relationship to facilitating change. This is by Terry Cotman and Kristen Meany-Wallen. So what was interesting about this book was there'd be like, in the chapter it'd be like all this knowledge-based, evidence-based, all this stuff, and then there'd be like an interlude with either like more information or a case example that would be worked through. So after another introduction of play therapy, yes, most of these books start with like play therapy, play is the communication of the child, play is this, play is that, and it's like, I know this by now, but sometimes it is good to go back and reread those things just as like a refresher. And it also too, like, it helps me see like how the authors write and if I can like follow along and all this stuff, because sometimes, like I said before, if I'm not tracking with a book, I'm just like, oh, I gotta read this for class, so boring. But these books were like very engaging. They're just like, oh yeah, like play so much fun, like we get to do fun things and all this stuff. And I'm like, ooh, I'm vibing with you people, even though I've never met you before. I'm just reading your words, like, this is fun. So they give nice details about the different play therapy models and how to pick a model. I thought that was like super duper important. Like, it is so essential to like pick your model at the start. Then after a few chapters about play therapy strategies and building the therapeutic relationship, they then go into more specific areas and activities to do with children. Some were familiar that I've had already learned and read, like the body scans, the gingerbread cutout people, collages, modeling clay, and a croissant tray. And then some were new, and not only that, involved family members, which is good, because being a family therapist, you're going to involve family. It's like, ooh, what's in here that families could use? So I have like this separate list. It's a Google Doc right now of just like different activities I want to try with children. And I think most of them come from this book, mainly. And another book that I'm going to get into here soon. So within this book, they also go into specific issues with children, such as what happens when children don't listen to limit setting or not talking, and what to do in these moments. So I'm glad that they also too acknowledge, like, these are some common problems, and this is just how to troubleshoot, I guess you could say, just like what you can do to kind of help build that relationship so change can start to take place. But goes into detail how to work with parents, families, and schools to help children be understood and succeed. So this is where I learned about the whole cleanup thing, and I usually had my kids like help me clean up because I'm like, you need to learn this for at school and at home, and I don't want to get in trouble with parents. Oh yeah, I didn't have them help clean up, but play therapy room is very different. It's very special because those toys represent the words that children need to be able to say, and if they just put them away, they're essentially just putting away with it, whatever needed to be said or something like that. So I usually give the choice towards the end of session, when there's like a minute or two left. I'm like, you have the choice. Would you like to help Miss Jen clean up the play therapy room, Or would you like me to clean it up on myself? Or, you know, we can take off and stuff. So, sometimes they want to help, sometimes they don't. Choice is up to them. I don't mind either way either, so it depends. So, oh yeah, and they talk a little bit about like silence, like what happens if there's silence in a play therapy room, like what's going on at that point in time. So usually I'm okay with silence. Used to not be okay with silence. Now I'm okay with silence. So if you're gonna be quiet, that's fine. It's okay, because that means something might be going on there. So I think this goes into like if I like say something like, oh, I wonder, you know, what the polar bear is doing in the sand tray, or, you know, I wonder what these two animals are talking about or something. You know, the child could either be like, oh, they're talking about ice cream. I don't know. I really want ice cream right now. So, yeah, they're talking about this and that. So, or they could just like completely ignore me, and that's totally fine because they're making the choice to say like, oh, they're talking about this and that, or they're just not going to respond. And sometimes they'll either choose a whole different topic entirely. Did you see XYZ movie? That happens more often than not. Yeah, so they'll like choose to just answer me or just continue to sit in silence. So, which is something I have to train, like, not train, but I have to like let newer therapists know. And I'm just like, guys, they're not talking, they're not responding. They're either working through something, they're trying to figure it out in their mind. These kids only have limited vocabulary, they're still learning words, I'm still learning new words. The book I was reading the other day, I had to look up like 3 different words because I've never heard them before. English be hard. Yeah, and especially like interns who are like shadowing me, they're like, I want to watch you do play therapy. And like, you know, the child will go quiet and stuff. And I'll just sit there, just being with the child, watching them play. And then the intern will be like, so can you tell me what you're doing? And I'm like, no, that's not what this is about. I have to be like really careful with my reactions, and I'd be like, just don't say anything. Let them lead is usually how I frame it. Just like let them lead. If they want to talk, they'll talk. If they don't want to talk, they don't want to talk. It's fine. You gotta have like this really permissive attitude with being a therapist. Just like don't let anything bother you. Whatever thing goes, unless they're gonna destroy the play therapy room, then that's not okay. Or if they're gonna hurt themselves or hurt you as a play therapist, not okay. But you know, if they want to spend 45 minutes in silence, then I won't talk. I won't say anything. Except one time, I think somebody sneezed and I said bless you. I don't think that counts. I don't think that counts. So it kind of goes through that and like why silence is important. I think that's why you gotta find the why. It's always about the why. It's just something might be going on. Or they're trying to decide, do I really want to answer this? Do I really want to talk about it? Or do I want to talk about something else completely? It's up to them. Choice is theirs. So we're gonna move on to some hefty books. And then we'll get back into some funnish books. So start out with the easy books, the foundational books, the books that I like. So, but this one I do like. I like how it's structured. So this is Post-Traumatic Play in Children: What Clinicians Need to Know. This is by Ileana Gill. So Dr. Gill, I talked about her in I think my last video. Big fan. Again, Dr. Gill in the first section goes through the different types of play therapy, what post-traumatic play therapy looks like, assessment, types and forms, and incorporating parents into post-traumatic play therapy. There are examples here and there, but more clinical illustrations are at the back of the book to read through, to see what the play therapist did. I would say this one's more for seasonal play therapists, even though I'm not quite there yet. We'll see. But I feel like after you get the idea of like what typical play therapy looks like, you know, kids are definitely going through some sort of trauma, but this is like more traumatic. So like, you know, the different types, like there's natural disasters, complex trauma cases, chronic trauma, and all this different stuff. Like this goes into like more details and more structure of what those sessions need to entail, especially incorporating the family. I feel like that's something she like says is like super duper important. You gotta get the family involved. So once you're seasonal pro, you can read this book. It was a good read. I really enjoyed it. I love reading like her work and everything, getting different ideas, seeing how it's all applied, and then just like trying to use those ideas in post-traumatic play therapy cases. Let's see what differences are made. What's the difference? So, I actually have another book. This one was edited by Dr. Gill, which is Working with Children to Heal Interpersonal Trauma, The Power of Play. Therapeutic powers of play. Ooh. So actually, I still need to finish reading half the book. You can tell chapter 9 onward, I still need to read. Hopefully by the end of the year. I'm actually just hoping by October to be done reading and figuring out what the therapist did and what kind of approaches did they use for specific cases. I feel like other play therapists share their experiences of helping children process and heal from interpersonal trauma. Really, chapter 4 was more on post-traumatic play and the brain development and what interventions to do in working with children. There are different chapters on various traumas, grief and loss, sexual abuse, and the one intervention that I use is actually in here as a chapter, which is the hero journey, which is a more narrative approach where children can write/play out, whichever one they're comfortable with, out a story of what they went through and work on building up resilience within themselves. So I did enjoy it. Chapter 4, I think, when I was in Capella, I just turned in like an assignment about like trauma in the brain or something like that. Oh, and like what activities you could do to kind of like help soothe it out. And then I go and I read her chapter like as soon as I turn it in. I'm like, oh, there's information in here. So on to book number 7. This one is by an author that keeps repeatedly come up in play therapy books in the field, which is Paris Goodyear-Brown. This is Trauma and Play Therapy, Helping Children Heal. I think this is the first edition. I think so. Or I thought there was a second edition. Anywho, this book has great visuals, so there's lots of pictures, different things you can see, and descriptions of play, such as going through the therapeutic powers of play, trauma therapy, and the therapist's palette, and what play therapists need to help children. The book goes through neurobiology in depth, going through the different needs of regulation. Then it moves on to containers, which I started using in framing in my work. It goes through how to go through metaphors, then interventions to use for different cases. The last chapter, again, has a more narrative approach where different interventions and questions can be used for the client to construct a trauma narrative. And then there's one chapter that discusses how to word certain things in children who experience sexual abuse, which is something that I'm kind of looking into a bit more, is writing children who experience sexual abuse trauma and everything. So there's like a little story about that I'm going to keep in my back pocket to use with kids. So this one's pretty handy to have. So nice little easy read, lots of good descriptions, easy to follow, lots of cool pictures. Speaking of pictures, this next one is also by Paris Goodyear-Brown. This is Parents as Partners in Child Therapy, a Clinician's Guide. I had to be really, really careful in citing this because I think one time I got partners and parents mixed up. That's on me. That's on me. But I didn't notice until after I submitted my discussion post. I was like, nobody catch that, please. I died. Oh, no. So, yeah. It might still be up there. I shouldn't have said that then. Anywho, so this is when you're working more with parents, helping them understand play therapy, their child, and the environment the child is in, and how to make the environment more adaptable for the child. Because, play therapists, we see kiddos for 45, 50 minutes, an hour, if that, per week. Parents spend most of the time with their kids, so getting parents equipped to help their children, very, 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 very important. I'm not saying that as a family therapist, I'm just saying I've seen it, witnessed it, and gotta get parents involved one way or another. Has more ways for parents to comprehend. There's not so much fancy jargon in here. It's like very simple, descriptive terms, which is very good. There's one part that like explains the brain, and whenever you think of the brain, you're like, ugh, it's so much jargon to use and stuff, but it's like very simple. And like what each part does, and then you can also like use that with parents as well. The basis of this book is going over the SOOTHE acronym for parents to remember when talking or playing with their children, which is soft tone, a voice and face, organize, offer choices and a way out, touch and physical proximity, hear the underlying anxiety, and also training parents about the brain and activities to use to explain, and parents to use with children based on needs, while also being fun and engaging. So educating the parents, letting them know how to regulate. Parents need to how to regulate themselves, and then how to regulate with children. There's also some tips and things therapists should keep in mind when working with children and their parents, helping the parents understand and provide education if needed. This book has a lot of pictures. I'll just flip through it real quick and see all my sticky notes. You can see there's like different things. All these nice little handouts. I'll show you the brain real quick. Yeah, there's like this one. And then there's the brain. Brain. The chapter 2. Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah, so you can see this little image of the brain and what it looks like and what each part does. So, yeah. And it's also good too for like handouts. Like you can just like put the book in the copy machine and make handouts for children and parents to use as well. It was interesting because I was reading a different book the other day. I'm reading The Therapeutic Powers of Play by Dr. Drews and Dr. Schaefer. I think it's edited by them. And different books wrote up the different chapters. I'm reading that to take the next quiz for APT training hours. Woo. And in that book, the other book, I saw something about like the sensory menu, and that's something that's in this book. And when I was like reading and stuff, I was like, oh, like, you know, Goodyear Brown has that same thing. And then I saw like in parentheses, like Goodyear Brown this year and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, hey. And then I was like, I went back to the references and like, hey, I have that book. So it's like kind of comforting and refreshing in a way that like play therapists use like other known play therapist work and materials to then just like build off that knowledge. So it's just so cool. It's like, oh, it's like being on the wild. Like, oh, I know that person. I had that book. Okay. All right, we got 2 more and then an honorable mention. Hi, baby. Yeah, crazy eyes. Please don't start screaming. Oh, the cat's gonna probably be in wild active mode. Y'all have been warned. All right, next up, a lot of stickies. Essential Play Therapy Techniques, Time-Tested Approaches. This is by Dr. Schaefer and Donna Kingolosi. I tried, okay, I really tried. Alright, so this book is extremely helpful with interventions. If you're like me and you're an intervention girly after all the education and the assessment, all that, and you're like, let's get to work, this be your book. This is one of my favorites. So each category includes toys and object play techniques, metaphors and storytelling, role play, expressive arts, imagery and fantasy, gameplay, and other techniques. Each chapter includes a specific technique or activity to use, what you need, what materials you need to use, and how it would help the child. There are even some that could be used in family settings, such as like puppet play, sand tray, all these different things. So this is super duper helpful. There's even a section on here about cosplay. I was so happy when I read that. I was like, ah, my little cosplay cart was so fun. My little cosplay heart was so happy. I was like, yes, let's talk about cosplay. So yeah, definitely recommend that one for your bookshelf, especially if you need ideas for like different things or like how is this gonna work with kids and stuff. That's a good book to use. This one I just realized I wrote a lot of notes for, so bear with me. But this one I just added to my bookshelf earlier this year. Let's see. And that is Aggression in Play Therapy, a Neurobiological Approach for Integrating Intensity by Lisa Dion. So I started noticing like aggression cases, like on my caseload, like slowly starting to rise. And also too, like in the play, I guess like as I was doing more of the working towards in the section of play and stuff, I was like, there's a lot of aggression here. Like, how am I going to manage that and all this stuff? I just felt like really inadequately prepared. I was just like, I'm used to like, you know, people very soft-spoken, just like dealing with anxiety and depression. All of a sudden, they're just like coming in, storming their room, throwing sand everywhere, and I'm just like, what's going on here? So this book, yeah, I can't remember if it was like I just did some searching online or if it was recommended in like another book. You know, some books might recommend other books and stuff. I can't remember, but I just found it online. I'm just like, all right, please help me. But I do remember, but what I do know is this book did in fact help a lot. Well, at first reading, the author would like say something and they'd be like, oh, we're gonna explore that more later. It's like, okay, so maybe like a later chapter. And then she'd like say something else and then she'd be like, oh, but we're gonna explore that later. I'm like, so it's like 2 things we're going to explore later. And I was like, kind of getting a little bit annoyed. How you doing, sir? Johnny. That's a teacup. Ooh, is it tea time? And it just seemed to be like a repeated thing, at least in the beginning of the book. I just like kept just getting really, really annoyed. But I realized later on, like it was in the first few chapters, like, you know, she's like just getting started, like, yes, I'm going to cover this topic more in depth later on and everything. So I had to get over that feeling of annoyance. One thing that I did like at the start of the book was how the author normalized experiences of play therapists just in a case where the child becomes aggressive or starts displaying aggressive behaviors in the play therapy room. And she's like, it's okay to freak out. It's okay to feel scared. And I'm like, yes, I'm terrified. I don't know what to do. So to read that and know that somebody has felt that way and they understand it, I was just like, oh, that's a relief. That's good. There's even a chapter on how play therapists can become external regulators and has journal prompts to consider, activities such as breathing exercises and yoga. So like, you know, play therapists, we have to look after ourselves so we can be there for the kids, show up for the kids, and become these regulators for the children. So to my understanding, children can hardly verbalize what they feel, so it comes out in play, especially the line, what we repress, we express somewhere else. So I like the idea of therapists being the regulator and container for children. The book then goes through like the different types of play, hyperarousal, hypoarousal, and emotional flooding, and how to observe these types of play with the children so they can feel safe and are able to regulate for themselves. There are also ways to inform parents about aggressive play and supporting them. This book had a more neurobiological approach, and it's in the title, obviously. It explains like the nervous system and how the brain and other systems try to regulate these moments and feelings. So not only that, but as play therapists, when your child starts getting more and more aggressive, it's like, you know, I did notice like, you know, sometimes like my breath would quicken, my body would grow tense and everything. And something that's helped me is either like with the child, I start to model deep breathing. Like, wow, like, you know, I'm feeling like really tensed up. I'm going to take 2 slow, deep breaths. And I model that with the child. And like take a second, do some like slow breaths. Sometimes like name the feelings of the toy. Like, wow, you know, if I was that toy, I'd be feeling like really sad or something like that. Or even just like wondering what they would say. Like, gee, like, you know, if I was that toy, I wonder what they would say to the other toy. Because then that gives the control back to the child. And sometimes whenever I do start to feel like, you know, play therapy rooms like getting tense and everything, what I've been doing for myself is I usually either wear flats or sneakers, depends on the day, but I will like flatten my feet into my shoes, so I'm like kind of grounding, but I'm also like feeling the bottom of my shoe, and I'll take like 2 to 3 slow deep breaths before picking up what the child's doing. So yeah, if I start to notice I'm like leaning forward, I'm getting tense and all this stuff, like I flatten my feet in my shoes, take a couple slow deep breaths, and then I'm like quick to like engage. It takes like a couple seconds and it took some practice, but once I started doing that, it really made a difference, because then I can go back and be there with the child and be like, wow, like, you know, you're really feeling pressure with that toy, like I wonder what the toy would say, type of thing. So this book definitely helped a lot, I will say. And sometimes this may seem silly, but sometimes I'll like wiggle my toes in my shoes too. Like if it's like not too intense, but if I like really need to like get grounded and stuff, I'll like how I wiggle my toes. Like, okay, like, you know, can you feel your feet? Yes. Okay. You're here with the child. Take a deep breath. You're gonna be okay. The sound says. Okay, I just want to show this off. Hopefully y'all can see. So pages 38 through 39 talks about the different ways that the nervous system regulates or dysregulates and what looks normal, and then different regulation activities. So I think on the website is where I found this like synergetic play therapy website. Okay, not sponsored. But on the website there's like a little handout. I printed that handout, I've sent it to folks and everything, because I feel like it's something pretty important to explain, like, okay, when you're feeling hyper-aroused, like, body's doing this. You feel hyper-aroused, your body's doing that. Like, how do you get in the middle? You do these regulation activities. And then the child or person can pick out what those are. Not too bad of a book. I'm sorry I got annoyed in the beginning. It's just like, if you're going to tell me something, like, tell me in detail right then and there. Because, like, I feel like I'm just not going to remember later on. But eventually it all came to the light. And once I found out, you know, the voicing the toy, the naming the feelings, finding ways to, like, get myself grounded so I'm not feeling tense so the child doesn't pick up on that, because I want to be that regulator, you know, learning ways to regulate and stuff. Then it made it a bit easier. And then one last thing, not quite a clinician's book type thing, but I did want to mention, you know, play therapists that use bibliotherapy, so like, you know, reading therapy. The series A Little Spot of like feelings, anger, happiness, sadness, whatever. It's like a book series type of thing. I bought like the box set, and then I have like different smaller books. I think I have one on like making friends. I have one for like, sleepy time, bedtime type of thing. I have one on a growth mindset. Those books are really helpful to like read with kids and like either talk about it, play about it, do an art activity about it. So I feel like those are like really helpful. And I think a couple of them even have like different like breathing activities you can do too. So I like those books a lot. Kids like them too. It's also very important. You gotta get books that the kids want to read and want to see. So and that was pretty much it. I know there's a lot of books, but I have more. Yay! That I just didn't want to bombard with. I have more books that I'm reading at the moment. So I guess so far I'm reading The Therapeutic Powers of Play. I think I have another one. It's like play therapy in middle childhood that I have to read as well. I just thought this was like a nice collection of books to cover and hope that others add to their resource library. So yeah, hopefully find a favorite. Get the advanced play therapy one. You're gonna need that. And that pretty much wraps up this video. So thanks for giving me an opportunity to just geek out about play therapy. So I'm still learning, still growing, but hopefully over time it all just kind of sits and simmers and I'm able to apply that with kids and families and all that. So really good stuff. So if there's any therapists out there, therapists that work with kids, play therapists, stuff like that, let me know. What are some of your recommended readings to better assist children and families? What do you recommend for books? Let me go add it to my cart. Maybe I already have it on my bookshelf and I haven't read it yet. Oh gosh. So I did just get one yesterday. I think it's another Dr. Gill book, but yeah, I have a bunch of, I think, more trauma books on the way, so exciting. So yes, very, very exciting stuff. So I just want to say thank you again. Let me get you out. So play therapy. So like I said before, I'm a certified play therapist now. More letters behind my name. Yay. But hopefully by the end of 2026, beginning of 2027, I'll be registered play therapist. Yes. Power. No, not power. Tired. Like I said before, I enjoy reading, so and it's fun getting to read and see how other people write, so it's all very engaging. Right, but with that, I'm gonna go ahead and take off, probably gonna go read. Actually, I think I'm gonna watch a show. Talk about reading. I'm gonna watch a movie. Ooh, are there movies about play therapy? Maybe. I know there's like video clips and stuff. We had to watch a couple in class. Those were helpful too. So I know there's like different podcasts and everything. Oh, I just completely blanked on a bunch of names. Oh no! Somewhere out there. I know there's like child podcasts and stuff. If reading's not your cup of tea. Oh, cup of tea. But yeah, if reading's not your cup of tea, then there's other ways. Videos, podcasts, different things, websites, handouts. So it's always something. Always something. But just want to say thank you all so much for watching. Hope you're taking care, staying safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye everyone!